Hey, what's up guys? In today's video, we're going to be going over some interesting PlayStation news. The first topic of the video has to do with a new update for Elden Ring. This is coming from PlayStation Universe and it reads, Elden Ring looks incredible, says George R.R. Martin as release day is finally at hand. George R.R. Martin, the author of Game of Thrones and collaborator on Elden Ring with From Software, has shared some of his experience in working with Hidetaka Miyazaki and team during the development of the upcoming fantasy RPG as it nears release. Despite video games not really being his thing, Martin had nothing but praise for Miyazaki-san and his team, describing them as doing groundbreaking stuff with gorgeous art. A few years back, Hidetaka Miyazaki and its incredible team of game designers, the creators of the Dark Souls video game series, reached out from Japan to ask me to help them create the backstory and history for a new game they were working on. Miyazaki and his team from Software were doing groundbreaking stuff with gorgeous art, and what they wanted from me was just a bit of world building, a deep, dark, resonant world to serve as a foundation for the game they planned to create, and as it happens, I love creating worlds and writing imaginary history. Martin concluded by saying Elden Ring looks incredible and that the game's day of release is finally at hand. So this is interesting to me because obviously Elden Ring is coming out in a little over 2 months from now, and I'm really excited to play this game. One of the biggest reasons why I am excited is because George R.R. Martin did play a part in creating this game. Now, before I found out actually what he did in this game, I thought he played a bigger role, but he actually hasn't been involved in the game for years now. So whenever they first came up with the idea of Elden Ring, they went to George. They just asked him to pretty much set up the backstory and to write lore and to set up the world, and then pretty much everything else Miyazaki and his team made everything else, but still I'm extremely excited because I'm a huge fan of Game of Thrones. I don't know what kind of story is going to be in this game, but I feel like if George had anything to do with it, I feel like it's going to be pretty good. So down in the comment section, let me know how excited you guys are for Elden Ring, and if you're going to be picking it up, are you going to be playing it on the PlayStation or the Xbox? Moving on to the next topic in the video, we're going to be talking about Cyberpunk 2077. This is coming from PlayStation Universe and it reads, Quest director from CD Projekt Red explains why there are no police chases in Cyberpunk 2077. There are a lot of features that were originally shown off for Cyberpunk 2077 that didn't make it into the final cut. Some of the ones that hurt the most for players were things like flying cars or even police chases, but it's likely that players would have settled for a functional game on launch instead. Seeing as how they got none of that, many fans rarely miss an opportunity to try and find out why. Currently in Cyberpunk 2077, police will just show up behind you when triggered, and neither them nor any other enemy AI will follow you outside of a triggered area. In a recent live stream, Powell Sasko, who is currently the quest director at CD Projekt Red, explained why there aren't any police chases in the game. He first began to confront the idea that all open world games need to have police chases or something like them, though many viewers weren't buying it. Sasko cited games like Elden Ring and Sonic Frontiers as two open world games that will not have police chases or anything similar, while citing GTA and Watch Dogs as the games he could think of which did use it. Not only are there more games than just GTA and Watch Dogs that use a police system, but Sasko seems to not notice that the two games he does cite without police chases aren't set in modern urban cities where the police are well established. Still, the second part of his answer is the real reason. There wasn't enough time, so they gave up on it. They were experiencing issues with the engine on a technical level while trying to implement them, and essentially ran out of time to try and figure out a solution. The more we learn about Cyberpunk 2077, the more it seems like it could have avoided being the worst launch in gaming history if it was just given more time. In that last piece right there, I agree 100%. I feel like if the game was launching now instead of a year ago, it might have been one of the greatest games of all time, but it just seems I feel like every month now we're getting a new article or a new update on what else is going wrong with Cyberpunk, and it also, I don't know how big of a role this Sasko guy played in making Cyberpunk 2077, but his excuse for saying why cops can't chase you in the game is because it's not in games like Elden Ring and Sonic, and it's especially talking about Elden Ring, that doesn't make any sense. Why would there be police in Elden Ring? That's a fantasy RPG with dragons and stuff. Why would there be police officers in that game? I don't understand that, but I mean, hopefully this does be implemented into the game at some point. I've always said Cyberpunk will be a fantastic game within the first 2 years after it's came out, so probably by this time next year in 2022, Cyberpunk probably will be a fantastic game at that point in time, but as of right now, it is still an incomplete, buggy mess. It's not nearly as bad as it used to be like a year ago when it first launched, but I've only played this game once, and I will not play it again until at least the next-gen versions of the game come out. Moving on to the next topic in the video, we're going to be talking about how accessibility and challenge can coexist in games. This is coming from PlayStation Lifestyle, and it reads, Naughty Dog Dev says accessibility and challenge can coexist in games. Both factors are independent. Naughty Dog's lead systems designer, Matthew Gallant, has said that accessibility and challenge can coexist in video games and one doesn't impact the other. In an interview with Eurogamer, Gallant was asked what he thinks a lot of players don't understand about accessibility design in video games, to which he said, accessibility is orthogonal to difficulty. Providing a very light difficulty option may remove barriers for some players, but others want to play on grounded or with permadeath enabled. Challenge and accessibility can coexist in harmony with the right design choices. Gallant added that every game has unique challenges when it comes to accessibility design, which require evaluation and playtesting. However, he believes accessibility is a true frontier of game design, and he'd like to see accessibility features become a norm in the video game industry over the next decade. Developers like Naughty Dog and Insomniac Games consult disabled players and experts to guide the accessibility design process. Insomniac Games Director of Experience Brian Allegier told Eurogamer that the studio deems it important to create inclusive worlds with relatable characters. In Spider-Man Miles Morales, for example, the team introduced deaf street artist Haley Cooper, portrayed by Natasha O'Feely, who is also deaf. We're excited about continuing to create worlds that represent characters from a wide range of backgrounds, and we hope it continues to resonate with our fans. You know, ever since The Last of Us Part 2 came out, and like how amazing the accessibility features were and how many options there were in that game, I feel like before The Last of Us 2 came out, you know, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like no one was really talking or even putting like accessibility features in the game. I mean, I'm sure there were, but not nearly to the extent of The Last of Us Part 2. There's a reason why The Last of Us Part 2 won like Best Accessibility Award at the Game Awards last year. Like, there's a reason why. As soon as you boot up the game for the first time, there is like so many pages before you can even start the game of like all the features for like if you're deaf or if you're blind or like colorblind. Like the amount of detail and like the links that Naughty Dog went to pretty much allow anyone to experience The Last of Us Part 2 is amazing. And it's not like, you know, like, oh, deaf and blind people had like a less of an experience as people that can, you know, see or hear. You know, I've heard some things where like literally blind people can play the game and they have like the same emotions like as people that can play the game normally, you know, and that's just kind of mind-blowing to me. And I'm really glad that, you know, accessibility is a thing, because, you know, I don't want like people with disabilities to feel left out, you know, because like I want them to enjoy amazing games as well, you know. And also with like Insomniac, you know, with Spider-Man Miles Morales, when they brought in that deaf girl, you know, so deaf people could understand, you know, that's amazing, you know. I don't know how much better like accessibility features can get besides Part 2, you know, but hopefully like games from now on, Naughty Dog set a bar, and hopefully in the future games besides Naughty Dog and Insomniac, hopefully other developers can actually reach that bar, you know, because that'll just bring in more players for games, and I think that's awesome. Moving on to the final topic of the video, we're going to be discussing an update for the Game Awards. This is coming from PlayStation Universe, and it reads, The Game Awards 2021 hit record viewership numbers, reports host Geoff Keighley. The Game Awards has gotten bigger each year, though not without reason. Every year the event itself and its numbers grow, with 2021 being no different. According to the founder and host of the show, Geoff Keighley, there were 85 million live streams, meaning across the world 85 million people tuned into the awards across streaming platforms. On top of that, there were more tweets than ever about the Game Awards, more viewer votes, and the show's highest ever watch time on YouTube. Now, I'm not going to go into the specific numbers because I don't really care that much, but I will leave this article linked down below so you can go and check it out yourself. But apparently this year's Game Awards was one of like the most viewed ones of all time. And continuing the article, it reads, It's great to see a gaming-centric event grow so much to include musical performances and visits from different celebrities, but it does bring into question how the show should be seen moving forward. The Game Awards is a very large growing platform, and it will continue to feel weird or off that we have large issues in the industry like what's been coming to light with Activision, Blizzard, and Ubisoft without them being mentioned by anyone present at the show. There's also a growing cry among gamers for the Game Awards to actually focus on the awards themselves rather than trailers for upcoming titles. Now that last part I somewhat agree with, because for those of you that actually watched the Game Awards this year, which I'm sure most of you have, it was kind of weird because I feel like last year it was pretty normal, but this year, like whenever they announced like the winners for each award, I feel like the people that went up on stage, they only had like 30 seconds to talk, especially the guy that won Game of the Year. He had like 15 seconds and then they started playing the music and like the show was over, you know. But apparently a lot of gamers are wanting them to like talk and like spend more time on the awards and like show less trailers for upcoming titles. But I don't know about you guys. I mean, I mainly check out the Game Awards unless there's like a really close fight for like last year with Game of the Year. I was really excited because I wanted to watch who won that, and thankfully Last of Us 2 won. But this year when it comes to the awards, there wasn't a single award that like I really cared who won. I mainly tuned in because I wanted to see like new games, you know, and that's pretty much, you know, I'm pretty sure it's safe to say that's what most people check the Game Awards out for. It's to pretty much watch new trailers and stuff like that, and not really like the awards. And also like in this article it talks about like how the Game Awards keeps including like musical performances and they keep bringing in celebrities and how that's a good thing, and I don't really agree, you know. I mean, there are some celebrities that I like, you know, but also at the same time, when there's like a lot of celebrities and like a lot of musical performances from like Imagine Dragon, it kind of comes off as like games on their own can't have an award show. Like they have to have like people from Hollywood and like movie people, you know, in order to like grow the audience and like the viewership for the Game Awards. And I disagree. I feel like Hollywood and the gaming industry should be two totally different things, you know. I mean, seeing a few celebrities, maybe like one or two performances is cool. Now if we got performances from like music in like actual games and not like Sting or Imagine Dragons, it would be so much better to me, in my opinion. But also at the same time, I actually did enjoy the Game Awards this year. I don't think I enjoyed it as much as last year because I was really excited for the Game of the Year, you know. And I feel like a lot of people, like some people online, really hated the Game Awards this year, and I understand why, because there's so many like ads and commercials and it's really annoying, you know. And like there was one point where like Geoff went up on stage and they announced like 10 different awards, and Geoff just read them off and then just said the winner and then just moved on, you know. It was kind of disrespectful. They could have at least like found out who won ahead of time, which they already know, and like reach out to the developer and like, hey, go ahead and record like a 30-second acceptance speech, you know, and we'll put that on the screen, you know. But Geoff just reads it off and like, okay, moving on to the next category, you know. Like it's kind of disrespectful. But since the Game Awards was so successful this year, I guarantee you next year we're gonna get a lot of ads, a lot of cringy performances and commercials, you know. But also I'm really excited for like the Game of the Year because there's gonna be Elden Ring, Horizon Forbidden West, God of War Ragnarok. So I mean, I'm gonna check it out next year, you know. That might come off as hypocritical, and I'm sorry, but I mean, most of you are gonna check it out as well. I mean, come on, let's be honest. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you're new. It really does help the channel grow. Until next time, guys, take care.